Hi there, welcome back to Tyranny. It's Judgment Day. Or it's Judge's Day and we are the Lord. We are here in Iron Hearth, where Graven Ashe has, put down the disfavored camp. And he's also the last guy we haven't talked to. What a great stuff. Let's talk to Graven Ashe. I'm happy to do it. Let's go. Fatebinder. No one in recent history has reached the pinnacle of a spire, and yet you step to the top as if they were intended for your occupation. What do you have to say for yourself? Well, I mean, they offer certain strategic advantages, you know. That's not probably something we would say with our low intelligence. This is somewhat offending. I think I'm going with, I'm still figuring out what it could mean. We have actually no clue. I mean, we're investigating everything, but we have quite low intellect and something value, so we're still figuring out what that could mean. Take care with your curiosity then. The arcana behind the spires has been lost. There's likely a good reason behind it. I would hate to lose a capable agent due to some calamity. What is it you require? Oh, he likes us. Nice. First, yeah, let's have a little chat with him now that he's so open. We want to know more about him, as we're also on an investigation against him by TuneOn. Tell me more about yourself. I am a family man, a family archon. I've always believed that culture is grown from a family legacy and respect for the past. I've sired 4 children in my long life. Ashelrin, Priam, Amelia and Brannix. I'm a general to my soldiers, but a father as well. They have my confidence, my love and my trust. There's nothing more to give. My days on Tyranny span many more than any human lifetime, and on this journey I have learned much. It must be said that I have also grown stubborn. I believe that matters must be handled a particular way, and see no reason to waver in those beliefs, as they are the product of my experience. So you are formed by your exemplary past. From a philosophical standpoint, this is not effective in a way, but it's certainly calming, and from a psychological standpoint, it's easy to understand that. Tell me about your children. What do they do? What about Ashelrin? Ah, my first and proudest accomplishment. What strength she had. During the conquest of the Northern Empire, she was slain by Blood Echo, the madman who once laid claim to the title of Archon of War. I would later cut his head from his shoulders with Ashelrin's broken sword. He continued to scream for minutes after the deed was done. I miss her to this day. Would that she had lived in long enough to bring a family of her own into this world. Imagine me, a grandfather. Oh, he has a soft spot, has he? Who was Priam? Was so, he's also dead. My son, born to the life that I enjoyed before I was an Archon, he fell to a wasting illness caused by pox, the Archon of Ruin. Disease was but one of many weapons wielded during the conquest of the North. Were he still alive, he would have sat at my right hand, for he was wise in counsel and strategy beyond his years, perhaps even beyond mine. Tell me of Amelia. She has... oh, she's not dead. Good to know for him. She has her father's stubborn persistence. She's an excellent fighter, though more brazen and eager to test herself on the field of battle. I have objected to this disposition in the past, but it seems as integral to her being as the very breath she draws. Amelia. She has been missing from the Legion since the fighting escalated in Stalwart. After her advanced detachment made their way into the depths of enemy territory, we lost contact. I fear for her, Fatebinder. I fear for her daily, and not knowing has turned this war into a nightmare for me. Well, let's find Amelia. I mean, that's really a heartbreaking story here. Wow, he didn't want her to fight, but she wanted to fight, and now she's missing somewhere in Stalwood. And Brennix, my youngest and most beloved, he was joyful and loving a soldier, like his father, and fiercely devoted to his countrymen. He told the most horrid jokes, but he was taken captive at Vendrian's Well and later died. I could feel his life at the moment it was extinguished. The circumstances were unusual, none of the quick violence brought about by blade or hammer. So, you're suggesting that the Scarlet Chorus had something to do with it, right? He died by some force that I cannot understand. I would not speak of this further. Poor guy. He has lost almost all of his children. I mean, Amelia is probably also dead. Let me ask you something else. Go on then. Speaking of family in the midst of war, can feel wrong. I wish we were back in the north together. Let's talk about more. Your replacement family. Tell me about your connection with your soldiers. Every member of the Disfavored is as precious to me as family. Their bloodlines are known and respected, their performance in combat beyond every expectation, and I would go any length in their service. They call me General or Archon, yet I consider myself a servant and guardian of these excellent women and men. But I suspect that isn't what you intended to hear, huh? There is a deeper connection still, but to appreciate it you must understand our history, my rebellion and my rise to power. Oh, let's see about that. Graven Ashe, Archon of War, is capable of shielding his soldiers from injury and fatigue. This protective influence exerts itself even from far away, or as he sleeps, if he sleeps. Rumors disagree. Few understand how this arcane power works, but all who have faced the Disfavored in battle will attest that Ashe's soldiers can survive serious harm and shrug off the fatigue of starvation or long marches in heavy armor. When the Disfavored are wounded, Ashe's Aegis, as some refer to the Archon's unique power, appears to help the Disfavored swiftly recuperate and return to battle. He is your standard paladin healer, right? In the service of an evil overlord. But is Kyros really evil? We don't really know that. I mean, he seems to be pretty neutral to us. Has laws that make sense. Brings peace to a land battling. With a lot of power, though. But yeah, not that it was different before, right? I want to know more about the Disfavored. No, we want to know everything. We want to hear him out. This is our method of investigation. I want to know more about the Disfavored. We are more than a mere army. I ensure that the Disfavored Legion represent everything we hold dear in the North. Rigid discipline, training to perfection, respect for law, and the importance of family. There we go, respect for law. That's why we're supporting them. As conquerors, it is our duty to teach the savage lands not just how to live up to the values the Empire sets, but how to live for them. Yeah, don't ask what the Empire can do for you. Ask what you can do for the Empire. So, let's. Oh, that's interesting. Do the Disfavored have their own laws? We need to know because, yeah, I mean, we're a judge, right? I hold the Legion to a particular set of standards. We don't have laws as you would know them under Tunon's teachings, but every soldier in the Legion is aware of my expectations. The first, honor the Legion in thought and deed. I cannot allow atrocity or heinous crime to drag my respectable Northmen into shame. I expect my soldiers to follow Kyros' mandates and conduct themselves respectably. I mean, this is like... I mean, if you know NCIS, this is like Gibbs's rules, right? The second, honor all oaths with your life. This respects the vows made to me as Archon and Kyros as Overlord. There can be no formal marriage for the disfavored ranks. This to prevent any obligations higher than the military. My soldiers can pair up and sire offspring as they wish. The North needs daughters and sons, and I would not force my countrymen to choose between family and loyalty. And last, honor your shield and weapon. The maintenance and care of arms and armor are critical to a soldier's success on the field. Of course, there are the rare exceptions. How do you fare under that shell of iron, son of Barikonen? The Archon regards Barik with interest. Well enough, General. I know I'm not in top form, but I'm able to execute my duties with distinction. And I'm able to execute my enemies with distinction too, right? As you say, Barik. And he already cares for Barik. You regard the Southerners with great severity. The South has squatted in willful ignorance of Kyros' superiority for so long that they don't deserve my respect. As the rest of the Empire coalesced into a united shared culture, the Tearsmen prided themselves as distinct. We looked on them from afar with nothing but scorn. All that I see in the Tears confirms my bias. There's lawlessness, neglect, corruption, infighting, everything the vaunted North has disposed of through superior breeding and culture. Yeah, we need to bring culture to them. I see hope, potential. Is that us? Or this place is unformed and it's our duty to fashion it appropriately. Yeah, I mean, we're certainly more about a duty as a man of law. You speak truth. We are here for the glory of Kyros, but also because we bear the burden of responsibility on our shoulders. I knew, as a family man, he would understand. If we did not teach the Tears a better way, then they would eventually destroy themselves from within. Of course, it's possible that the Tearsmen may come to enjoy all the best of Kyros' offerings, but it will take generations of trial and the long-term eradication of culture, as they know it, a worthy pursuit by any standard. Yeah, we need to educate these savages. Tell me, though, of your units. Most of the Legion is made up of stone shields. They are the bricks in our shield wall, made of stone. How good that metaphor works, right? The Iron Walkers are the trained and efficient killers who branch out from behind the phalanx to fight among the enemy ranks. Crescent Runners are the fleet-footed light infantry who bait the enemy into premature attack. The Oathbound are specialized scouts and advanced infantry. Then there are the Iron Guard, tempered in the forge of war, armored to survive any blow, and commanders of surpassing skill. What are they? Let's read this. The Iron Guard is the disfavored High Command and an inner circle of commanders handpicked by Graven Ashe for lifelong service, tactical brilliance, or true dedication to the craft of personal combat. The Iron Guard act as Graven Ashe's chief advisors when the Archon is present, and when he is absent they speak with his direct authority. Even the youngest Iron Guard has years of training and the finest iron the forge-bound mage-smiths can create, making these elite commanders nearly unrivaled on the field of battle. These senior leaders are expected to lead from the front of the phalanx. It's said that the Iron Guard fear only one thing, dying in their beds instead of in battle. They're the true metaphor of beauty brought to life, right? The only other units are my Earth Shakers, the former mages of Cairn, who command avalanches and harness nature's fury to our ends. Yeah, we have read about them as we freed them. So what is the Legion's history? Oh, we need a favor for that. Interesting. As Kyros conquered the North under a single banner, there were those of us who resisted the call to unification. I was a young warlord at the time, petulant and inflated by pride. I rallied the sons and daughters of the North to stand against Kyros. Our offensive was valiant. We planted our shield wall between the enemies, between the armies of Kyros and our homeland, declaring that no tyrants would dare cross us. Oh. So he thought Kyros was a tyrant. Go on. We held our ground for a time, drawing the attention of others who would add their strength to ours. Every victory was discussed and celebrated by other warring factions that refused to submit. Respectable. As you have witnessed, none can stand against Kyros. Eventually my legion shattered against the relentless onslaught of archons and soldiers. They brought me in chains before Tunon. He told me that enemies of Kyros would all be put to the sword unless I took that one opportunity to surrender and join the fold. I mean, what did you do? You surrendered, of course, but yeah, that's just... It's mostly wise to let people tell their stories by only small words. Not really questions, so... I mean, this seems equal, but let's just say we're not that intelligent for questions, so let's just say go on. Out of loyalty and love for my countrymen, I swallowed my pride and bent the knee, offering my sword and my life to the Empire. My army was granted the rights of Kyros' peace, and we lived on as servants of the Overlord. Since we had transgressed and rebelled against the offering of Kyros' protection, my elite legion was stripped of their decorated name and dubbed disfavored, a mocking reminder of our past crimes. Even as we stand above all others in the ways of war, we struggle to earn back Kyros' favor. Every soldier in my legion is descended from those who stood with me during the rebellion. I keep them close to me because they were the finest northern stock, and their continued lineage is a reminder of Kyros' mercy. That goes for you as well, child of the North. By your unwavering loyalty and respect for our heritage, you are beloved in my eyes. He nods at Barik. Disgusting, verse says. I hope you don't expect me to listen to this sentimental drivel much longer. Well, you sound jealous, verse. Maybe you just don't know how it feels to be favored by an Archon. And she also doesn't know much about family, right? I mean... with her father just leaving her mother? Nor would I want to. If the voices of Narad takes an interest in you, that's one step closer to having your skin flayed and sewn into his tent. Well, let's talk about something else, maybe. I'm not made for idle chatter, but in this case I will oblige. I want to ask about your rebellion against Kyros. Yeah, let's go deeper into this history. You're right to be curious about our history, but it concerns me that you would speak of rebellion. The battles of the past are centuries cold and hard as iron. I mean, we want to know because of our investigation and because we're interested in the story. I think it can help me serve Kyros, though. It's possible. Kyros doesn't lack for enemies in this lawless territory. If comprehending a rebellion as brash and audacious as mine helps you, then so be it. So you want to hear how I decimated the armies of Kyros, built my legion around northern values, and achieved a measure of power. It's true that I accomplished much as a northern warlord, but my life began in earnest under the Overlord's tutelage. Oh, he has joined the Force. The Dark Force. Yeah, he has these eyes. Like a dark Jedi now. Who did you defeat exactly during your rebellion? I defeated Bloodruin, the Archon of War at the time, by leading him into a trap. He must have been so consumed by the fury of the hunt that he overlooked a bit of hasty misdirection. Ashe chuckles and shakes his head. Even the execution of that foe was nothing compared to the victory I'd win later. So that was the guy who murdered, I think, his daughter. I also defeated the voices of Narad. The general beams with pride. Yeah, we have seen that. Strange to imagine that happening so many years ago, and here we are again. My legion nearly destroyed the Scarlet Chorus, humiliated them. In fact, I suspect the Archon of Secrets is still licking his wounded pride. I wonder if he would remember the conflict differently, or at all for that matter. The Voices has a long memory, but a short attention span. His soldiers are as disposable and unloved as anything can be. The Voices holds his pride and satisfaction in higher regard. He is crafty enough that nothing can wound him deeply, though I seem to have earned the distinction. Oh, what was it like to assume the Archon of War's mantle? Well, at first I was unaware that I had assumed any power beyond my normal authority. It might seem obvious now, but war tends to confuse such things. I had no desire whatsoever to claim or accept such a responsibility under Kyros. It took years for me to fully come to terms with my own surrender and subjugation, but if I was meant for any title in the honored hierarchy of Archons, war seemed an appropriate one for me. In truth, I think of myself more as a general and a father. And tell me about fighting the Archons. We won many battles against the Archons, though we did the most damage against the Voices of Nerat. He was by no means the only Archon to assault our shield wall. When the Archon of Entropy tarnished our weapons, we fought with wood. When the Archon of Sorrow sapped our fervor, we rallied around songs of the North. Probably some heavy metal, right? Marching in with the old Nightwish serenades. Nice. I dismantled their offensives, even though I lacked an Archon's education or experience. No doubt this is one of the reasons that Kyros singled me out to join the ranks. And how did you rise to power? That tale is bound to the rebellion itself. I always inspired loyalty and devotion in my soldiers, but as the years wore on, I grew to love them in turn. Every stone shield is as dear to me as a blood relation, and I would go to any lengths to see them succeed. As we all know too well, General, Barik strikes a fierce salute. When we stood tall against Kyros, the women and men of my legion trained harder, marched farther, and endured more than even I had taught them. We were unstoppable. The soldiers credited me this new advantage. I had given them my total commitment, and they felt protected and strengthened by my presence. At first I thought it merely their nature to look to their leader for courage, but nay, they were the first to discover the truth. And what truth was that? It was the root cause of their strength. Maybe it was the rigors of war or the desperation of our cause, but I had awoken into some greater power that I only dimly understood. My devotion gave the legion strength, and their loyalty made them fight beyond any human capacity. At first I attributed the performance of my legion to their training and their breeding, but soon it became clear that something greater was afoot. I suspect this redoubled Kyros' interest in me. The power of an Archon is something to be nurtured or stamped out in accordance with Tunon's judgment. Once the forces of Kyros viewed my influence over the troops as a demonstrable threat, they resolved to put an end to my defiance once and for all. They sent every army they could spare after us, all but sacrificing the Scarlet Chorus in the process. Eventually, as all detractors do, even I fell. And what happened next? They dragged me to Tunon's court in chains. I killed a dozen guards on the journey. If I was to be shackled for the Overlord's delight, I would pay back the indignity in blood. When I knelt before the educator and felt the force of his judging stare, my temper cooled, turning from anger to fear. Tunon offered me the terms of my own sentence. If I walked a path of insubordination, then the lives of my soldiers were forfeit. If I bent the knee to Kyros, an opportunity that would not present itself twice, then I could continue to serve my legion as their Archon. It was a difficult choice, but not so trying that it paralyzed me. My soldiers had not earned such glory to see it all snuffed out before their time. After I made the choice, Tunon invited me to a council of Archons, where my loyalties were affirmed and my place among their number Sealed in a compact to Kyros. No sooner had I become an Archon to my soldiers than I became the Overlord's Archon of War. It's a pretty decent promotion, and I earned through a display of strength. Odd that he holds the chorus in such contempt. Verse says, you already know the rest. My vaunted legion became disfavored. The Archons even forced me to cast off my northern surname. Graven was a joke at my expense, since I buried my pride in the past. I'm a vassal of Kyros now, but the protection of my soldiers is secure. I have guided their family lines across generations, and the disfavored show no signs of slowing. Well, thank you. Well, that was a sum up, right? Enough questions for now. Very well. Would you speak of anything further? Oh, so... Oh, there's more. We need to ask him, because we need to find out. Do you ever wish you had remained defiant to Kyros? What is that, Fatebinder? I hope I didn't just hear you utter those words. Ashe narrows his eyes. You're walking a fine line asking the Archon these sorts of questions, Fatebinder. I'd take care with how you address the General in the future. Barik says, well, I only ask out of curiosity. And you never stop to consider that your questioning tongue could lead you astray, huh? I've had officers flogged for less. The educator would not thank me for punishing your curiosity, so I'll spare you this once. We need to know, Graven Ashe. This is important. Remember Tunon. I have never second-guessed my decision. Had I remained defiant, my beloved Northerners would have faced execution, and by my own hand I would have followed them to the grave. The North fell to Kyros. I mourned for the old ways, even as I served the Conqueror's will. But over time we rose to become greater than a short-sighted warlord could ever dream. The next time you question my loyalty, remember what I have done in the name of army and country. I am the Archon of War. If you seek an expert in backstabbing, perhaps you would better be served in the Voices of Nerad's company. I hope we understand each other. Well, I apologize, Archon, because we just had to ask, but we didn't want to, go so deep to your wound. Why even bother posturing for this one? He's hundreds of years old, we're just gnats swirling about his head, quickly forgotten. Words are easier to forgive than actions, but take care that you don't offend me in the future. Oh yes, we have lost favor. Your guileless questioning reeks of accusation, and most Archons will not heed the difference. So let's go for the better topic for you. How can I continue my service of the disfavored? These are troubled times for all, but none more so than the forces of Kyros. Our organized offense has splintered. Loyalties are challenged at every level of command, and much that we have built during the conquest crumbles under its own weight. We had thought the Wendrian Guard were the final death rattle of this region's defiance. We were wrong. The tiers have risen up against Kyros, emboldened by their countrymen. The forces of chaos have awakened. That's how we would call it. And while the disfavored labor to maintain order, that serpent, the Voices of Nerad, grows his army of lunatics and sellswords, preparing to lash out when we least suspect it. I can only imagine that the Voices is driving his gangs mad, with plots to storm this fortress, says. Yeah, see, I was right to take her along. She knows how Voices of Nerad thinks. There can be no peace with the Voices of Nerad while the Voices of Nerad lives, and no order while the Scarlet Chorus rampage across these lands. The elimination of chaos must be our first priority. Then we will have our time to govern the tiers as Kyros intended, and bring efficiency and peace for all. Can I depend upon your support against this scourge? Tell me more about the tiers uprising. I try not to bother myself with the details. These objectors will be dealt with and forgotten soon enough. I know of the Unbroken, a group of former stalwart miscreants that arose in the Blade Grave, arming themselves with a misguided sense of national pride. Who are they? The Unbroken Legion was the proud and accomplished army of the realm of Stalwart, citing their victories as evidence of skill. They prided themselves on never facing defeat while fighting on home soil. After the Edict of Storms tore apart Stalwart and twisted it into the Blade Grave, barely a 20th of the Unbroken's former strength survived to continue the war against Kyros' forces. So the splinters of the Unbroken. That is deeply ironic. Beyond them, the dissident elements of this fallen realm interest me little. So what would you have me do? Seek for the Unbroken and bring them to justice? Our position of authority in the Blade Grave, so the realm of Stalwart, is far from secure. We need to establish ourselves in the region in order to cultivate our strength for the battle to come. As soon as I am confident in our chances, we will depart this realm and wipe the Kyros threat from the face of Tyranny. The Unbroken, former daughters and sons of Stalwart, vex our efforts to secure this region. The Edict of Storms offers them cover, actually. They slip past our patrols in the light of day, hiding their movements behind clouds of dust and debris. So this is why the wind is there still. It's still the Edict of Storms. Kyros cast this blight on the country to set an example, not to plague those of us loyal to the north. You must travel to Sentinel Stand and seek out Strader's Herodin. He is the last of the old Stalwart bloodline who called themselves regents. Put him to the sword and end this edict once and for all. And who is this guy? The last of an elder bloodline that ruled Stalwart and maintained its dignity, he is also a filthy coward. During the last battle of Stalwart, he crouched behind the walls of Sentinel Stand Keep and refused to meet our forces in the field of battle. I mean, you can call that prudent too, but it wouldn't be Ashe's way, so we can understand why he's calling him a coward. Why is he so important to the edict? You should know that better than anyone. Did you not proclaim Kyros' will upon the realm of Stalwart yourself? Oh yeah, we did. But we're not that intelligent, you know. He would neither surrender nor impel his soldiers to do so. As such, Kyros decreed that storms would ravage the country until the regent was dead. Strader's Herodin was free to kill himself, of course, but he was either too proud or too gutless for the task. And why has no one killed Herodin yet? Because he persists in crouching behind the walls of Sentinel Stand. With the Edict of Storms raging around the citadel, no one has been able to enter or exit since the last year of the conquest. No bird or missive has left the wind wall either. The edict is all the proof we have that Herodin still lives. So he might be dying, but we need to check. So tell me of the Edict of Storms. Because how you see it is interesting. Your perspective. We of course know what it is. Kyros visited this plague upon the people of Stalwart to punish their leaders' cowardice. We had thought the edict would have been dispelled long ago. But to our dismay, it endures. The rust and debris filling the air is a source of constant irritation and hampers our ability to conduct this war on our terms. You should consider the subjugation of Stalwart and the ending of this edict tasks of equal importance. Thankfully, your goals are well matched. The persistence of the edict is tied to Herodin's bloodline. Kyros decreed that the storms will continue until the last of the regents is slain, and the regents to end the edict and return to me victorious. But what if Herodin has had children or many affairs? We would need to find all of his children then. Is that true? I understand what must be done. I'll make for the Blade Grave at once. Find the last regent, kill him, end this Edict of Storms, and staunch this seeping wound of rebellion once and for all. The downfall of the Unbroken, and the old regent will send a message throughout the tiers. Our rule is absolute, and dissidents will not be tolerated. Well, but we will judge, because we are the law. So I will travel to Sentinel Stand and judge by my findings. Wrath again. If your perspective is as lawful and orderly as it ought to be, the right path should seem clear. The unbroken must be destroyed, and the edict must end. Should you arrive at any other conclusion, I suggest that you stifle your opinion and follow orders like any good soldier. Yeah, but Graven, we are not a soldier, we are the law. You must understand. There's one final matter to discuss. My daughter went missing in the second year of the conquest. I've reason to believe she is trapped in the fortress of Sentinel's Stand. If you can find Amelia, bring her home to me. That's something we would really do. We would really like to do, because we understand him. His devotion. As this is also law is about hedging a garden. So, how do you know that? It's the one location in all of Stalwart we cannot reach. If a detachment of soldiers was taken captive, she would have been placed beyond my power, no doubt for the southern wretches to use for negotiation. The expression twists with distaste. Tell me about her. She has her father's stubborn persistence, an excellent fighter. Oh, we have heard this already. But our relationship has endured its challenges. The last several years I have been a better general to her than a father. Once the war is over and she is restored to the Legion, I hope we can find it in ourselves to know each other once more. And you want that the grandchildren, right? So that's a real reason. I mean, yeah, just say it. What makes you think she's still alive? We have traveled together through this fallen, corrupt land. You are no doubt aware of the aegis I extend to my troops. It's the boon I grant my northerners for loyal service and devotion to our shared cause. Yeah, we are aware. As my army feels my guardianship, I'm keenly aware of them in turn. Their concern, their pain, it is my burden to carry as their leader. Amelia is alive. I have awoken at night in cold sweats, my bile rising with violence. What torment she suffers at the hands of those stalwart animals is a mystery. I only want her restored to heal in the company of the Legion. So violence. So this is not probable, but we just have to ask, because she had a conflict with Graven. At least it sounded like that. Would you have willingly abandoned her duties? As a father in general, I am ashamed you would even ask it. Come on, Graven. That's ridiculous. You know, and a good investigator must ask everything. I hold my soldiers to a standard that would seem impossible to the rebel the court sees on a day-to-day basis. My daughter is no exception. No, we'll promise him to find her. I mean, a conflict of interest, yes, but that is the one thing that is clear, that he wants his daughter back, and if she wants to go back to him, it should be done. The other things need to be investigated further, but this is a sure thing. That is all I ask. Amelia is but one soldier, yet if I had the forces to dispatch, I would make her retrieval my highest priority. She's a commander of the highest renown and a paragon of northern values. And she's your daughter. Stop cheating yourself, Graven Ashe. Fatbinder, I offer you my support on this mission. The Blade Grave is a place of memory. I left many cohorts buried among the ruins, and no small part of myself as well. Could you elaborate, Barik? The matter is a sensitive one, but I fear to speak it in the company of the great general. Though he doubtless knows it already, Barik attempts to stand tall before Graven Ashe. Speak on, son of Barikonan. Nothing I've seen you accomplish in the field has diminished you in my eyes, and I know my soldiers as well as I know myself. Ashe nods with approval. I lost countrymen by the hundreds in the last day of the Stalwart campaign, and for my troubles I became fused in this armor. The Blade Grave is the last place I ever felt human. That is all I will say about it now. The last battle of Stalwart was a terrible time, perhaps most of all for you who survived. I mourn those we lost and recite their names often. During the morning drills we cannot restore their broken bodies to the north, but we can remember them as they were. Well, Beric, you have much invested in this mission. Of course you can accompany me, and we also like you as this favored guy. I appreciate that Fatebinder Graven Ashe is attentive and understanding to each of his troops, and it pleases me to see his example in you. And in you, Armored One, never forget that I found you at a mere germination of your potential, and you have accomplished much in the ensuing years. Thank you, General. Though it's impossible to tell through his helmet, you assume that Beric is blushing. Your map is already marked with a position of Sentinel stand. It would take me 100 lifetimes to forget those old walls, or the day the edict shattered our advance. Well, I've got further questions for the Archon of War then. Ask Fatebinder. Take care with your time. The Unbroken crawl over this territory like ants, unchecked by our northern boot. Well, there's nothing more to ask, it seems, so farewell. And you, thank you for watching, for listening more into this deep lore session of Tyranny. We know much more about Graven Ashe and the motivations now. We have delved deeply into this understanding, and we now know much better how to judge what lies before us. So, thank you for watching. And it's Judgment Day. We are the law next time. This is Immanuel wishing you a good time, happy gaming, and we're signing out.